Hello?
Hello.
Hi. Oh my gosh. It's Around the Block, Season 2, Episode 3. I'm
Yes,
Renge. With me, as always, Ors.
I'm
How are
Oris.
you doing?
Doing all right. Uh, First weekend since being moving into university, so
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
just sitting here at my university chair. That squeaks. I think it's gonna squeak again, but it's okay. It'll be fine.
Are you. You know what? That's fine. That's
Yeah,
fine.
I'm trying. I'm trying my best. Let me.
No squeaking for
Yeah,
Ors.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it is slightly further into the school year. Doesn't mean that, like, Tetris has slowed down any. We had what happened this week? Star Cup? Is that it? I feel like there's something else that happened.
There's probably more that happened, but I mean, Taz as always has been kind of
Yeah, that's
going
true.
wild. Maybe
Taz
I
never
should. Maybe
stops.
I should go into like a Taz Open or something. Maybe. I
Ooh,
don't really want to actually, for various reasons, but
you could do
they
it one
seem
time.
fun.
Maybe one time. Maybe one day. You know,
Yeah.
another Oars tournament experience to talk about
Yeah,
around the block.
yeah, yeah. So
That's
yeah,
it.
but I think the
Uh,
big thing was definitely Star Cup.
mhm. Star Cup. For those of you who don't know, I think was is probably like the first large scale TR cap tournament, not rank. It wasn't capped at like U rank. It was capped at 2400 TR. And I feel like you definitely have had like apprehensions about TR caps in general, but I think it went really well. Run
Yeah,
by PK and Edge, who we had on the podcast a little while back.
it's just things are so arbitrary. It just,
Yeah,
I
for
know it'll
sure.
be, but I think like integrity matters less than the production. So
Hmm.
it's good. It was all good.
Yeah.
You had
Actually, people, uh, every like a lot of the people who were like uh who would have probably ended up smurfing it, they just kind of like outed themselves. They were like, "Hey, so I got 24K. Like, can you disqualify me?" And I was like, "You know what? This is great. This is wonderful.
Yeah, well, maybe
I
for
don't
everyone that said they were smurfing, just did, just.
maybe if
But there's
everybody
two.
had this
There's two Smurfs for each self-reporter.
yeah. I mean, I don't think the people who
Yeah.
did really well were like Smurfies, you know? Like
Yeah,
they
yeah,
just
yeah.
kind of seemed like good 23.9K players.
Yeah, seems fine. Seemed
Yeah.
like a good tournament. I think
It
PK
was.
is always very consistent with their quality, especially nowadays. I think
Yeah.
they're, especially with Edge taking, I think more of like a second man at PK,
Hmm.
and like Moose tightening up the team. Things have been a lot nicer.
Yeah. Edge does a ton. Uh,
Yeah.
this was like his tournament series that I don't honestly that was before my time. It was like 2019 or
Actually,
something.
now that I think about it, I remember I think hearing about like I've watched one of the Star Cups and I was like, who is
Really?
this guy on comms? And it's like I don't, was that Edge?
It
Might have
might have
been
been.
Edge because it's just like I have never heard this person before, and I don't know how good they are.
It
Um,
was
but
a Jstris tournament back in the day, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
uh,
Uh,
yeah,
but it got reimagined as a Tetrio tournament. It kept the name, uh,
yeah. So sad. All
and
the
just
big Jstris tournaments are now
they are Tetrio tournaments.
Tetris
I can't wait
tournaments.
for Jstris Cup, the Tetrio
Yeah.
tournament, right?
Is Re is Revolution coming back?
Revolution is Revolution now,
Oh
sorta.
wait,
I don't.
really?
Well,
I
not
thought
really,
Revolution
but
was a MMC tournament.
I mean, it's run by Modest,
Yeah.
right? Like Modest is
I
was the
guess they where
thing.
modest is, the tournament will go.
Nowadays it's just like a collaborative naming scheme, you know?
Yeah. Now, yeah, I think now especially because like everyone's doing like weird names, or it's just like I think PK started this trend too. It's just like they just named the tournament not after anything, just something random, and just for it to be
Yeah.
cool. I was like, all right, okay, that's the meta.
All right, Snow is infinite. I see you.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know what this means, but you know what? You sound good. French
um,
Volution? What do you mean? You don't mean anything. But well, I mean it's just a play on words,
yeah.
but
I guess Revolution did kind of started the trend, but no one really followed. I
mhm.
think Moose started to really hit it home with like the posters, the anime. It's a
Yeah. The
yeah,
posters, I want to do more posters. But anyways,
yeah.
uh
On to our topic
yes.
for the day. Was just sort of sitting down and thinking about things we had not talked about yet before. And one of the things I thought of was we, I think a lot of the time in like the first season, like we talked a lot about like usually the guests that came on. We didn't
Mhm.
really talk too much about either our own journey through Tetris, um, which we could talk about, but I feel like wouldn't really be that interesting or different than other people's. Um,
There also isn't like that much to talk about, you know?
yes,
But yeah.
but one thing that I thought about was there's a lot of experiences that at least myself and then I learned Wrench as well had that kind of contributed to some of our views on the game and like what we do in the community and led us to where we are now. So that's gonna be what we're gonna talk
Mhm.
about.
That's the vibe. I think yeah, everybody has like those things that come from other walks of life that end up influencing uh how they like perceive and what they value within like the Tetris community in a certain way.
Yeah,
And we'll get into that. And I think that's like a really interesting topic that we haven't talked
yeah,
about.
and I think like it's kind of like I'm not gonna even pretend like we're that old, but like part of it is just like how long you've been around that you get to end up
Hmm.
accruing more skills and experience that just seem kind of irrelevant, but excuse me, that seem kind of
Eventually it
irrelevant,
all
but
comes.
yeah, they'll come forward.
We've
Um,
been around the block, so to speak.
and
You
yeah,
know what I'm saying?
yeah. So I think one thing that's, uh, well, I have more to say, but we'll get through with some examples. So I think one big example is for myself is with video editing and video like making content in general. Um, so yeah, so one of the big things that I think a lot of people, one of the reasons a lot of people don't want to upload content is even though if they make something, it just seems bad to them. Right? And like you're
Yeah.
probably already at a phase in your life where like doing something like bad it's kind of cringe, right? But like I think that a lot of the people that people see like their first videos are like really well edited and stuff. Like I think because like the first video I made was pretty much that like real actual video I made was that finesse guide, which I like poured a lot of effort into because I like edited it all in After Effects.
Mhm.
That wasn't just because that wasn't like a first attempt, quote unquote, that like that was like my first time making a video. I've been like making content on YouTube or doing editing for a very long time. I started with I think as many do, with like a Minecraft YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I posted my
Classic.
Let's Plays or whatever. I didn't do that well with that, but I kind of got bored of Let's Plays after a while.
Hmm.
And what I actually ended up doing, and this probably honed my editing skills more, was I started doing like Minecraft machinimas. Um, do you know
You were a
Minecraft
Minecraft
machinimas?
machinima guy? That
Yeah,
makes so much sense.
yeah,
Like I hear this and it just checks out in my head.
yeah.
But
So I made little
that
like film. I also like, I mean, when I was a kid, I also like made little films on like a camcorder or a
Mhm.
there's like this iPhone app called Splice. That's like a rudimentary video editor,
Oh
and
my
I figured
god,
stuff
I
out.
remember
You
Splice.
use Splice? Oh, that's crazy.
I didn't use Splice. I just kind of goofed around with it the same way that like a 6-year-old will mess around in GarageBand, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. It's and then I guess I had like a this is like eventually I had like a middle school film class where like they taught us how to use Premiere because for some like I went to like a very kind of yeah school, you know, pretty pretty affluent school with
Uh-huh.
that had
Affluent.
resources to provide us with the Adobe licenses.
Hello?
Um, and yeah, I started to get it with Premiere, but probably the one that gave me the most uh, the most experience editing and like actually put me trial by fired is I produced um how do I phrase this? I produced like the music videos for cover groups for idol songs. That's me.
Really?
Yeah. Um
I did not know. That's actually pretty insane. That
or
huh.
there's like these are like fan groups, right?
Mhm.
I didn't like do it for a studio or anything, but like it was there are these things online. They're actually pretty cool. You guys should look them up afterwards if you're just like degenerate weebs, but they're called chorus battles. And so I did one with some friends or but I didn't want to like sing or anything, but I still wanted to contribute. So I said I'll like learn editing. I'll just like learn After Effects. I'll do it for you. And then I just kind of went in. I just kind of
Lots of
went right in.
teamwork.
I'm sure the first few like one thing I want to stress is that the first things you do are always going to be really garbage, right?
Mhm.
And to a degree, like just figuring out that like how video editing, the flow of videos ought to go, how things ought to be framed. It's all just kind of a process you learn through trial and error. Obviously, there's things you can learn, like composition is an art thing, but
Mhm.
really you just gotta throw yourself into it. So I made a lot of these idle video like videos where it's just like I'm just panning pictures of anime girls around, and it's just using learning the tricks of the trade. Um, I would pull one up, but I feel like that would not translate very well
To
on
the
video.
audio to our audio viewers.
Yeah, and I think the original channel is
Is it privated? No.
it's all deleted. It's straight up
No.
deleted. There's some that I
Lost
have. There's
media?
some that I do have, but like the very first ones I did are all deleted.
Oh,
Um,
that's unfortunate.
yeah, but it was like we I entered like so the course battle is like a competition. So I entered with some
Mhm.
friends, and it's just and then like it was real bad. I was like up really late on school nights to just um I was up at like 5:30 on school night. I remember just like I needed to finish it for a deadline, and it's like
Mhm.
I don't know. I
I
was
mean, it's a passion
exporting.
project, right?
Yeah.
In a way. No, nobody's. I don't think I would ever fault you for staying up late on a school night working on something that you really enjoy.
Yeah.
That's. I don't know. I do that sometimes.
Yeah. We do that
Um.
all the time now. But like it's different because I was like I had to keep I was like I was like in 8th grade when I did this. I was like a middle schooler. I was
It
talking with
ain't
this like
nobody. Ain't.
random like probably like 12-year-olds just like editing for them. It's just weird when you put that in perspective, you know?
Yeah.
It's
I
just very
mean.
weird when you put that into perspective. I'm just like this little sweatshop editor. It's like I'm 14. I'm going in.
Yeah.
Um,
I
yeah.
that analogy will never cease to make me laugh. You
Uh,
know. And
yeah.
now we're in the Tetris community, and you
Do
do
my
editing
guides. Yeah.
for your guides, and I think Edge, honestly, he probably has a similar-ish story. And now look at him. Is he's my sweatshop editor
Yes. Yes.
for all
Yes.
this random crap that I want to do eventually. You know,
Yeah.
I just pitch him ideas, and he's like, you know what, I'm down.
But yeah, I think one
So,
thing that I keep stressing this, but like
mhm,
video editing and video making, I've talked to a lot of people that have been like express interest in getting into YouTube content, and it's just like they make stuff, right? People make things. They just don't want to post it because they think it's not good enough, right?
mhm,
Like and like the good quote unquote like the actual like the content creators you see nowadays for Tetris or just in general, like these are people that got past that bad phase before they like develop self-awareness, right?
mhm.
So they have that buff, but if you actually want to like make stuff, you have to just pretend, just kind of power through. You just need to just kind of run things. Like
Yeah,
the first thing you do will literally never be good. It's impossible for the first thing. You're not impossible, but if you're like a
extremely
savant
unlike.
or like, and if you see people's like quote unquote first things they do be good, that's not the first thing they made,
Mhm,
right? That they have likely had many previous experiences that have helped them do like even if they haven't necessarily made a Tetris guy before or like made some kind of video before, a certain category, they've probably had other
yeah.
other skills that carry over, which is the
Everybody
whole
has
theme of the video. Oh my
yeah,
god.
everybody has that trial by fire experience. I think when it comes to video editing and also just like other things in general, you know.
Yes.
Obviously, I'm not like a content creator uh t- to any significant degree. I don't know, I stream. That's not I don't know if that's content creation, but
It's like tournament
my
organizing, I guess, and
yeah,
knowing how to put on a show.
uh for me that's like everything. Everything that I do in the community comes from my experience just like in high school, not only high school, mostly high school, wherein I was like the quintessential band kid. Like imagine every stereotype about a band kid that you've ever thought about. That was probably me, you
White.
know. No, okay. You know what? You know what? Touche, touche. uh are band kids usually what? I thought they were usually like Asian because they all play piano.
I think it's because you live in a very, very Asian community.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Vancouver has no Asian people in it. But
Yeah,
anyways, um
it's okay.
uh yeah, throughout high school, I this is probably going to pertain most to me as a coach, but it also comes out in the ways I choose to do TO stuff. Um a lot of my experience as a band kid was being like the really good one. I did piano lessons all like throughout the majority of my life. And you know, like when you do piano lessons and then you go to the high school band, you're pretty good. You're pretty good compared to everybody else. Like everybody else kind of is not very good.
Yeah, you got that theory, underlying theory.
Yeah. I just had the fundamentals that other people didn't. And this is not like a brag, right? But like it is definitely a brag. So a lot of my experience was coaching or helping other people with stuff that they had trouble with. Uh, I did a lot of leadership. I did uh, drum major, which is in a marching band. That's the person at the front holding the giant stick.
The drum?
Drum major. Okay, those of you who have done marching band know what I mean. You know, you're
I
in on the bit.
I don't know what that means.
It just means you're the leader. You're the
Okay,
leader,
I'm
or
sorry. Okay,
I am the leader.
okay, I'm good.
Uh, and at my school, at least, they would also like lead practice for the entire class, which is low key kind of whack, but you
Yeah,
know, it is what it is.
it's okay.
And so, through that, I took a lot of like my coaching values, which a lot of it is like honestly, the actual thing that you're teaching the person, it doesn't really matter. Like honestly, if they're gonna if they're gonna improve, they're going to put in the legwork on their own. You're giving them the tools to improve, like you're telling them how, but what matters way more than that is knowing is having them know and giving them like the confidence that they can actually do it. What you're actually teaching them doesn't really matter. It's like whatever if you tell them, "Oh, you need to do X, Y, and Z things," because eventually they're gonna have to do everything anyways, right? It just you need to give it to them in a way that makes them feel like they can still do it, and it makes them want to continue trying to succeed. And I think that is definitely like the aspect that carries over the most um to me as a Tetris coach, because
Did
it's like, hmm?
did you ever try to like micromanage a kid that like now you're and then he's just like I don't know and then he just now you and then you were like oh my God I can't micromanage people they have to learn on their own, or is it just something you got a sense for and verified?
uh Definitely some kids that I helped had that kind of like defeatist, like
Uh,
I just can't do it, man. It's over for me. And it's just like you gotta, I don't know, part of me always wants to just like give up, but you gotta put on a brave face for them. That's kind of how I am in my like IRL tutoring right now. My tutoring
uh,
job where I make money. The
nah,
kid
nah.
the
If it's a
kid
job,
does
you just don't think.
don't think only, you can only be supportive, but
It's different
I
for a
think,
job
yeah,
from like a thing you actually care about.
yeah. I mean, in
But still,
both
yeah.
ways, I still think like the core concept of like I you need to keep the person like interested. If they're going to like learn with any amount of significance, if they don't care, especially in something like as like tutoring, where like ultimately it doesn't like I don't know if they're ever gonna actually like make use of the things that I tell them in tutoring, or I don't know if like a student that I teach in Tetris is actually ever going to like practice cheese race.
They never
But
do. They literally
they
never
never,
do.
very very rarely do they do. Um, but you want to like incentivize them as much as you can. You want to get them like to care about wanting to improve and wanting to practice this thing that is ultimately pretty monotonous. Uh, you know, that's sort of like my whole thing with coaching. And I think it works in Tetris at least, because people will want coaching because they want to improve, or like they want to get past the whatever block they're at, right? At a current moment, and giving people like the drive to improve, I think is one of the things that I'm actually pretty decent at with coaching. That's Yeah. I don't know. I think you and I have different coaching styles. That probably stems from
Yeah, I
different
mean, I
experiences.
definitely acknowledge that. Like I literally made an entire video about like what I thought about coaching, but
Hmm.
um, yeah, that's definitely like probably one of the more important. I definitely concede that it, especially for like video games where people like don't really care about practicing that much. Um, they are like the kind of the morale center of coaching is definitely probably
Hmm.
more important, I would say.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it bleeds through band and playing video games is sort of similar, because like in in high school music you can really get by with very little, I think.
yeah, I could definitely feel. I mean, I did band, but I wasn't like a band kid, and I definitely felt like even though I didn't know how to like really play the saxophone, I know what the correct notes sounded like, and I knew how to read
Yeah,
all the notes, and I was like, that's fine.
you do
Uh,
just enough to get by, and it's just
yeah.
like, if you actually like want to do something with it, or like you want to like excel at all, it's very similar to wanting to improve it at like Tetris, I
Yeah.
think.
or anything
like
you really
being
care about.
productive. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So, I mean, I have a pretty similar story to Renge. So my experience again, I'm gonna show off, not show off, but the my school had a fencing team. It's a excuse me. It was actually pretty common in my area because one thing about fencing that you all must know is uh, Russia's pretty good at fencing, or like ex-Soviet countries are pretty good at fencing. Um, and B, after I think it's like even one of the 1980 Olympics, 1988 maybe, I don't know. One of my
Long fun.
coaches like told me like stories about this, but after the Soviet Union collapsed and after the Olympics, and the people from those teams from like ex-Soviet countries, they did not fly back to their home or like to Russia, or like they just went to America. They just kept flying. And yeah, that was the now, and like a lot of them ended up coming to the Northeast, which is where my home is, or like my hometown is. So a lot of schools had fencing teams, and they had like kind of extracurricular fencing coaches, or like coaches that had like kind of their own gigs outside, or kind of just random teachers as well. But like it's just kind of it was a sport people did. But like Renj said with band, it's not really a sport that you can get good at. Just you can kind of get by with just like being in a high school fencing team, but like you could go all 4 years of high school fencing without like touching someone who does fencing outside of school at like a club. Um, so yeah, what ended up happening my senior year is that our coaches were essentially absent. For whatever reason, they were all busy. At my school, all the
Did they
coaches
just
were.
like never come to practice or something, or did
No,
like
they just
come to
never came
practice?
to practice. We were also in between like hiring. Like we rotated
Oh,
coaches like pretty much every year I was there for whatever reason. But
oh,
they just
actually, that's something happened to me.
yeah.
How about that?
Maybe people just get fired often. Maybe maybe job markets are just bad. Maybe teachers and coaches for schools just not a
Maybe the
good market.
teaching sucks. Anyways,
But
academia, am I right, folks?
yeah. So yeah, what happened was is the captains my senior year, so that was me, haha. Um, we're basically the coaches. We ran practice. We did a lot of things. We made it like an unauthorized change to the varsity policy to make people attend practice, which had to be overturned later.
Really?
Yeah, we just said like, wait, can we do this? Like, and then they just wrote it down, and then no one stopped us. Yeah. And then just, or we just told people that, like, yeah, if you don't come to X amount of practices, like, you just don't get a varsity letter. It's just okay, right? Um, but yeah. Uh, so basically, I was a club fencer, so it was my job to knowledge transfer to all these little kids. Not
Mhm.
kids. I mean, they're mostly freshmen, right? But it was a lot. It was a lot to learn, right? I mean, I also have done tutoring, and I obviously like help my friends with school, but like this, I think I would say is like the most in depth. Excuse me,
Yeah.
like coaching kind of experience I did, because I was literally coaching people. I looked up a ton of resources about like fencing. I kind of took all the exercises that I learned from my time at club um to uh the high school practice. I tried to isolate what was the most important thing. Uh, Big surprise is just being athletic. Um,
Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise. To be good at sports, you need to be athletic. And I think fencing is also kind of seen as a sort of like less intense sport, but if you see like the highest level, they're very, very athletic.
Hmm.
So I brought a lot of exercises that like help people be more explosive with their footwork or whatever. And I looked up how to explain and break down little micro situations, trying to isolate the ones that would give people the most bang for their buck, trying to break down fencing to the RPS, uh, all these sorts of like I
Is
brought a lot.
fencing a rock paper scissors game?
Um, Certain situations are so off the line. Like when you say start, you're kind of in like a you're sort of in like unreactable space. That's like a fighting game term. Like a
Ah.
um, so you, especially like they literally made a change to fencing. Like the USFA made the United States
Like
Fencing
Mr.
Association.
Fencing
Yeah, they
made a
they
change.
literally moved people closer at the off the starting line for saber fencing, which is what I did. And like they called it the Russian box of death because okay, I don't want to get super into it. It's basically Russians were behind the change because like the Koreans were beating them and they thought it was because of like how far they were away. It's really don't worry about it. I'm not gonna get so super into it. But people would also like because of the increased starting distance, they would just like slam their guards together and they would get wrist injuries or whatever. Uh, but it really made the game like very very like off the line, like very very RPS. Um, Very important to know your box sections. Okay, I'm not gonna get super into it. I'm sorry, but that
I
was
would I
me.
would watch I would watch around the block fencing.
So
It's just words. Listen,
yeah,
talking about fencing for 50 minutes.
for
Anyways,
for for people
continue.
that I guess have seen any of my coaching stuff, especially my early stuff, you will know the kind of that probably tracks like how I'm talking about fencing. How much like I talk about like figure out the theory and like breaking down things to most important exercises, distilling things. That's how I kind of look at at things in general.
Hmm.
I find that's one of the things I found is like trying to explain that is pretty difficult, and a lot of people don't care. Right? People just don't. A lot of people just don't care about theory. Um,
Hmm.
and so I need to trying to figure out how to present that in a digestible way. I think is one of the main things that I learned from there. Like I learned you can't really try to convey more than one or two ideas in one session. Or like when you practice something, it's best to keep it to one micro situation, two micro situations, making a decision between a few micro situations. Everything is cumulative. A lot of like little coaching theories. I found a lot of like fencing coaching, or just one mainly, and fencing coaching resource that I learned from. But I brought a lot of that as soon as like I saw the thing for UC coaching. Like it was like COVID. I hadn't fenced for like a year or two because I wasn't able to.
Hmm.
And then like I did that first session with you know who it was?
Who was it? Was
Wait,
it Italics? Was it me?
no, 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 no. It wasn't. It wasn't. No, it's not you guys.
Oh.
Uh, I actually might have done someone else first, but one of my first ones was Nizdi.
Oh, I love Disney.
Yeah,
Continue.
and I thought Nizdi was a prepubescent boy, and that's my bad. That's one's on me. Um,
uh, Continue.
but
I'm
yeah,
sorry, Disney.
and it all
For the
kind of came back. It definitely felt like wow. I really feel like I really enjoyed that when I was like basically coaching the entire team. It
hmm
was a lot of fun to break things down in that way. But uh, yeah, I mean, how I view coaching has definitely shifted quite a bit. But and I think there's still that's definitely
There's still room though.
gave me my starting point for how I do
Mhm.
coaching. Yeah.
I think people don't like. There are a lot of people who coach, and I don't know. Maybe they have had different experiences, or maybe they just haven't really thought about it. I think subconsciously, like without really noticing it, your past experiences will definitely bleed into the way that you choose to interact and you choose to to coach people or to do like TO networking stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
I think
I don't
it's
know.
kind of hard sometimes to also like you also can't like completely do this, and I think a lot of people
Mhm.
coach others as though they were themselves,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
And there's a kind of a line where it goes from applying your experiences to straight up projection. Uh,
Hmm.
but I don't know. That's kind of a complicated topic.
Yeah.
Um,
Basically, the fatty TLDR. Just you gotta be able to recognize that it's like you can apply your own thoughts, but the way that you see things is never exactly the same as somebody else. So it's
yeah,
like you just you it's definitely like a trial by fire thing. I think doing
yeah,
things by just trial and error and just messing up until eventually you understand it is one it's definitely something that I went through a lot,
yeah,
both as a Tetris coach, as a tutor, as a music coach, whatever. Is just you just have to like keep slamming your head against the grindstone.
yeah. And
Um,
you kind of have to like. I think it also like sort of helps people with what they think about like talent, quote unquote.
mhm,
I don't know how true this is, but I remember on our Caboozled episode, one of the things Cab attributed his like rapid improvement rate to was the fact that he was an avid Geometry Dash player, or I guess just avid video game player in general. So he was already really used to like grinding games for like hours upon hours,
mhm,
right? And like his hands could take it or whatever. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think you just have to keep in mind that others have had their experiences that they're
mhm,
applying. So you shouldn't feel like bad if you feel like people have like a head start on you. There's like a it's an alternative explanation uh for it seeming like people are more talented than you at something. They're
mhm.
just they have their own experiences.
Yeah.
Um like
Um. Yeah. I mean, that's definitely true. I just kind of don't really like attributing things to talent. It's hard to
yeah.
like get that out of your head, I think. I think
It's
as a band kid, as a band kid who was pretty good relative to the population, I would wager to say that I was like probably the second best person at music in general at my school the year I graduated. I was pretty close to the top.
I
I ended up not going
yeah.
to music school because music is useless. Anyways,
Yeah. Didn't like it that much evidently.
didn't like it that I just got really burnt out. But that's a
Yeah,
story
it's
for
fine.
another time. One of the things that always kind of pissed me off, and I think people who have worked really hard for a thing sort of know what I'm about to say, is when people attribute your own hard work to being talented is kind of annoying. I'm not gonna lie. Like for me, I mean I was playing piano for like 10, 11 years at that point. And there's a lot of like work and dedication that goes into it. Talent is like a starting point, but whether or not you become good at a thing to a significant degree is it's all about how much you're willing to put into it, how much you're willing to practice and grind. So to hear someone say, "Oh, it's just cuz you're like God-given talent, whatever," is kind of
Yeah. Genetics
demeaning.
difference. Genetics
Genetic
diff.
difference. And I think because of that, I think this kind of bleeds over to a lot of how I see interacting with others is like if I was if someone were to do that to me, I would probably like want to punch them. I'd probably want to like scrap, you know? So I'm
Yeah.
not gonna attribute whatever player's growth being way faster than me to them being like God-given talent genetics at .mp3
But just
better than
a
me.
golden rule or do unto
I'm definitely a
others.
golden ruler.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, if someone improves better than me, that's just because I suck. I gotta work harder and smarter.
I think also. I mean, I think it's the more important thing there is not to compare yourself to others. There is always
Yeah,
going to be some level of
for sure.
like you can't grind for as long as X person because your hands get tired, right? Or
Hmm.
like you have your own responsibilities. It's just different circumstances. I think one thing is very rare for someone to be very, very special at one thing, right? There can only be one
Hmm.
best in the world at something, but um, like how your unique combination of like I am good at like Tetris, I'm like X% at Tetris, X% at this other thing, X% at
Yeah,
like
very good at Geometry Dash.
yeah, it's just like as a combination of features, you are very unique, and if you can find ways to combine those, that's sort of the best way to go about things. Apply those
Hmm.
experiences and utilize your time and unique talents as well as possible.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Past experiences are always interesting to look back on, I think.
Yes.
Golden rule lives on. Uh,
Yeah.
you a golden ruler or is
Um, I think I'm just a regular person. I don't,
you're just a regular ruler?
or I, I don't boil down, I can't boil down my like ethics too simply. Or I
That's
haven't,
fair.
yeah. Like I don't think I follow like any super hard and fast rules when I make decisions.
Yeah.
I will weigh things, but
Or is chaotic neutral?
I don't know. I definitely a lot of the time I will feel I don't want to this is a kind of a very off topic.
Ethics discussion
But yeah, no.
or
I don't
something.
think I mean definitely I will always consider how others
Mhm.
feel, but um sometimes you just gotta go Joker, you know what I'm saying?
Sometimes the situation calls for it, you know.
Yeah.
You just gotta kill a man for the folks.
Yeah. Anyway, let's let's talk about chat. So,
Mhm.
hopefully um talking about our own experiences may have spurred some memories of your own into I don't know the
Into
front of your
coming up with
brain.
points.
So
You
why
guys,
don't you
you guys
guys
got
all
anything?
yeah got any like non-Tetris experiences that may have helped your what you're doing currently in the Tetris community, or even doesn't even have to be Tetris related. Any seemingly unrelated experience that helped you
Mhm.
later in life with something you do.
Yeah. And you know,
Yeah.
I think I think I'm a better person for it, at least within Tetris, for having like had the experience of being a band kid and having the experience of micromanaging like a trillion big people in a band or whatever. And it's I don't know, it helps. People are better for the experiences that they have, generally speaking,
Yeah.
I think.
I think so. Yeah, what Lim said. I think people should spend a decent chunk of time learning to learn. That's something I think. I know Lim, you've spent like a lot of time thinking about that, and I think that's sort of like a meta way to look at things. Like you're specifically putting aside time that can be so that you learn skills that will very, very almost guaranteed apply across. So yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
Jed, right? Jed writes, I remember when I went to my friend's house and he was doing this project with this girl who I thought was his girlfriend. So I called this girl his girlfriend's name, but it wasn't her. It caused me so much embarrassment. I still get red just thinking about it. So to this day, I still misname people to not forget my roots.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another classic Jed story. I think you know what? I love Jed.
Thank you,
I feel
Jet.
like I feel like Jed definitely has something locked away in the box.
It's got a
Definitely.
lot of things in this box.
Mhm.
I don't know.
He's a little joker, and you know what? Never forget the one time Jed. I'm gonna talk about it. That time Jed talks about it sometimes. Uh, he was taking like his AP Chem exam.
No, I have not heard this.
Oh my God. Oh, new story. So Jed did the AP Advanced Placement Chemistry
Yes.
chemistry
I heard
exam
that
at
was
the end
very
of the year or
difficult.
whatever. The chemistry exam is like the hardest one, I think.
Most of the
One of
science
the
ones are
hardest.
really hard. Yeah.
Yeah. And he knew absolutely like jackrabbit nothing. So he just spent like an hour and a half
Oh,
drawing a monkey on the front of the paper or something. And then
I
he
did hear
handed that
about
in.
this. Yes. I think
And I
it's
think,
because like he was required to take the exam for the course, right?
yeah,
But didn't want
something
to
like
take it.
that.
Yeah.
I
We
think
had that
that's just
too, but
that's just like a very Jed thing. You hear about that and you see how Jed is as a person. It's like, yeah, this makes sense.
monkey.
Lots of people have that experience with AP exams. I
Yeah.
didn't. I tried on all of mine and I still only passed one. But that's okay. You learn from your failures.
I think the maybe the AP meta is a little less developed in Canada because it's a U.S. system.
That's true. That's true. We never had to take our exams. We just like were encouraged to do it because
Yeah.
otherwise it's like, why are you here? You know?
Yeah. Uh, I did pretty well. Oh, I'm not. Well, let's not talk about exams. I don't know. Um,
uh, you know what? I feel like, yeah, I don't know. People experiences, right?
yeah.
I just, yeah.
I
Is
guess
there
about
any
limbs.
others?
Oh, sorry.
Is there other stuff in your life that like kind of has shaped it other than like fencing? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I guess like non-personal experiences. There's some courses and stuff that I think statistics is a useful course that most people should take.
Mm-hmm.
Like statistics, just understanding how how things work, how like numbers work in like the real world, and like like what how to interpret like when a research guy says like, okay, this is crazy, this is and you can, it helps you interpret like how science is done pretty much, um and will help
Mm-hmm.
you stay informed. I don't know. I
As
want
it
to do
as
some
it pertains to
statistic stuff with Tetris because I think a lot of stuff in Tetris is just like, yo, I just kind of feel I hit the stride, or I don't know.
yeah, and I think both of our that's actually a good point. Both of our coaching methods don't really have like a big like statistical component. It's like this feels right,
Yeah.
Like this feels like the right exercise or like for me it's like this feels like the right way to talk to you
Yeah.
or to help you improve and to help you motivate yourself. But we don't really have any analysis. I think that's because we're
Yes.
generally speaking a pretty like young community,
For me, I
both in
tried a
age
lot
and
to.
just
I try to build a lot of my stuff upon existing research, existing concepts, because I don't think we necessarily have the ability to, or funding to to actually conduct Tetris research or whatever. Statistical training method. How would you even plan a statistical training method? Okay, we're getting super off topic, but I guess we got a little more time to fill, but it wouldn't be like creating a complete statistical training method, but just finding people at certain stages of the game and kind of restricting the way they practice and, controlling for those variables instead of just like looking at individual case studies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you were to like just take case studies to look at whether finesse is a good thing, and you just saw CZ and it's like, oh, this is useless, right? Like, what are we doing? But there's a lot of other like variables that you didn't control for. Like, yeah, this guy has been playing for years upon years. Um, you know, very high
He has
level.
different skill sets too.
He's just built different. You just need to take
He
it to
got the
the
new one.
account.
Also, he also just has like the
Yeah,
hands that are capable of pressing the
yeah.
same key like
Before
six
Numo
times.
even, he was already just like apparently a monster. But like
Mm-hmm.
as soon as he just like learned like some basic defense concepts and like then started to bring them a little further, it's just yeah. So what Jed says is like you just it's you coach Jabrodi 57 and be like, okay, you got that 30 APM. Let's try to get that up. And then on the second session, Jabroni got 25 APM. Yes, a 17% dip. Anyway, next coaching. I don't know. It's
I
just
think
like there's no cause and effect. We don't have any clear
mhm.
cause and effect. So we're just trying to find the clear cause and effect.
Cause and effect is also weird because Tetris is such a like a this is super off topic, but it is still
Yeah.
kind of on topic. It's like Tetris's improvement is so not linear, you know?
No improvement is
Pensive,
linear.
yeah, but
Look at my
Tetris is
theory
so
crafting Thursday. Number one.
number one. Uh, I don't know. I think Tetris is such a volatile game, you know. There's so
Yeah.
many variables that you have to try to control for if you're gonna do something with statistical
Yeah. I
analysis
think the
or something.
problem with Tetris is that like it's too simple, right? It's hard to control for
Mhm.
things. Just the stats we have don't really describe too much about a person. I don't know. There's no problem with it. We just haven't thought about it too much. We could do it. Of all games to control
Exactly.
variables for, we could do it. We could do Tetris. You know, like people reduce baseball down to literal numbers. It's just like you can
Do they
play.
actually?
You can play baseball as like a stats game. You just like reduce a guy to his like on base percentage and like his percent. You know, like
You just roll dice?
yeah,
Baseball is
yeah. My
actually
English teacher
it's
used to do
actually a
that.
dice game? That sucks.
Yeah, foolish baseball. That's what it is. What Jed said.
Ah,
Oh no, wait. Foolish baseball is a YouTube. Is that a YouTube channel? I don't know. It's just like tabletop baseball. I remember some kind of baseball. Whatever. I think we should
well, I think that's
be
a
about
good
good.
place
I
to
think
stop,
we're kind of derailing quite a bit.
Foolish baseball is a great place to stop. So, ooh, uh, thank you all for coming out to the Twitch stream, or if you're watching on YouTube or Spotify. I feel like the Spotify low key has kind of been popping just a tiny bit.
Has it? I don't haven't been tracking the listens at all or anything.
A tad. I know that people are like interested in the fact that it actually exists on Spotify. I think it's sick. I'm gonna look it up right now. Around the block. Around the world by Daft Punk.
You have to
What?
look up around the block like
Tetris.
Tetris podcast because the
Here.
Coinbase podcast comes up first.
That's unfortunate. We're
I
still
know.
getting ratioed by the
Getting
Coinbase
ratioed
podcast.
by cryptocurrency. So sad.
I actually don't know how to look at the numbers for this, but I'm sure they're popping. So thank you for the support on that. I think people have been listening on Spotify more. No, not
We'll see.
everybody has
We'll
YouTube
check
Premium.
later.
Uh, but yeah, thank you for your support there. This episode will also be available on Spotify and on YouTube. Uh, they release on Mondays, right? Mondays at
Yes.
noon EST,
Yeah, so this will be out in like 16 hours.
something like that.
All right.
Uh, but yeah, thanks for coming. We'll catch you next week with another episode of Around the Block.
See ya, everybody.
See you.